Hi everyone, welcome to Locating Lauren. I'm Lauren and I'm so glad you're here. Today's video is a continuation of my PhD diary series where I'm going through my week-by-week experience throughout my PhD program. I'm currently a first-year student at the University of Mississippi where I'm studying my PhD in second language studies with an emphasis in applied linguistics. Last week I talked about the second week of classes and teaching and how there was a bit of a disillusionment in that. And so moving into week 3, the overall overarching experience, I'm just kind of sorry to say, was this lack of motivation. I feel like this third week of classwork and teaching was a bit difficult because it was coming off of a long weekend. It had been Labor Day and I went home to see my parents. And so coming off of that, it was a little difficult to set the routine, have a little bit more discipline, and get things done. That was just what I experienced during this time. I think that I was having such difficulty because I lacked the motivation I probably needed to really hit the ground running. I think the long weekend probably threw that off a bit. That, of course, slows down your momentum that you've been trying to build. Be mindful of that if your school has off that, Labor Day weekend right in the beginning of the semester. It might be difficult to get back into a flow and momentum that short week when you return. Give yourself some grace for that. I think we all experience that. We're human and that's just kind of how it works. The third week was also a bit of a challenge in the sense that this is also the time people kind of start telling you if this isn't for you, then quit. I don't know how else to say it. For my pro seminar class, which is an introduction to PhD, kind of getting to know the department, professors, things like that, how to research, how to do things, kind of the how-to course for the new students. We have to do interviews with professors in the department, which is great. I think that's a great idea. Before you even get into a PhD program, you do informational interviews with schools to see how you fit in their program. So I felt this kind of was the follow-up step to that now that you are in a program, okay, now interview multiple people in the department, get to know them. They might not necessarily end up being your professor, so it's good to know their expertise, if they can sit on your committee. So I thought this was a great idea in the course that they had designed it so that you are able to interact with multiple people in the department. I was fortunate enough to interview 2 professors within the department, and it was great experience overall. I really enjoyed it, but both of them kind of stated at this point at the end of the interview, and I was like, okay, like what advice would you give to a student that's new to a PhD program, going through the PhD? And both of them pretty much said, if at any point you're not happy, this isn't for you, like this isn't for you. There's no shame in dropping out. There's no shame in quitting. It's, a lifelong career, blah, blah, blah. Which I totally respect that they're sitting there saying, like, listen, if it's not for you, it's not for you. And I can appreciate that. But for me, when I was giving these interviews, like I said, it was at a time where I was having difficulty gaining traction in the program at this point. I was having difficulty motivating myself and very frustrated with myself for not being able to set a routine at that point. So hearing something like that was kind of a bummer. It was a bummer to mentally be in a difficult spot and then hear somebody say, quit if it's not for you, essentially. So I understood where they were coming from. They were coming from a good place, and I needed that perspective in that moment. I did. Honestly, I guess that part of things helped because I was thinking to myself, okay, this is a small part of a big picture, so it'll eventually fall into place, and this is not something to necessarily get so caught up in right now that it ruins the bigger picture. But at the same time, like I said, it was kind of just like, oh, okay, like, not what I need to hear right now. Overall, that is to say, week 3, I was having a hard time getting motivated, but it was good to know that it was 1 week and there is a much larger picture, a much larger scale in front of me. So that put things into perspective. And if you do hear throughout your PhD program, I feel like it's going to be a conversation that pops back up. Like I said, both professors mentioned it in my interviews. I've heard it in other videos from other sources. There's no shame in quitting. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Totally get that, but don't be discouraged by those conversations. Those people are just, I think, trying to ease your mind if you do come to a place where you realize it is not for you. That makes sense. It's not for everybody, and sometimes we can get to a place where we have to go through parts of the process to fully realize that. So I guess if in your gut and your heart you're hearing this and it's like, why would you say that to me? Like, that's so discouraging. Just take it with a grain of salt. They're just trying to be helpful to people who need to hear that. And if you're not someone who needs to hear that, then just, you know, let it be what it is, and thank them for their advice and continue on your merry way. So anyways, that third week for me was just all about trying to really set those routines, get motivated, get into a good mental state where I felt like I could be well on my way and in a flow for the remainder of the semester. It came off that long Labor Day weekend, so it was a bit tough, a bit of a mental challenge during that time, but it was good. I'm glad I did get to interview those professors, get their perspectives. If you don't have a course where that is something that's required of you, like it was for me, I do recommend reaching out to other professors that maybe you see they have similar interests, maybe you can work with, they can be on your committee, and just ask if you can stop by their office during office hours, talk to them, get to know them. I really think that hearing other perspectives is so helpful. Hearing other people's experiences, they can level set with you. They've been there, they've done what you're doing, and it can be really helpful. And if you maybe are kind of not in a situation where you want to speak to professors yet, maybe you're not quite prepared for that, reach out to your colleagues and who maybe are a couple years more advanced than you and speak to them about their experiences. I've done that before I even joined my program. I spoke to a lot of people in the PhD program to see what it was like for them and their experiences. So definitely do that. That would be my advice going forward. If you're in a PhD or even are considering a PhD at a particular school, speak to the professors, speak to the students on their experiences, on their advice. Of course, take it with a grain of salt. Just know that your routines will come, you'll get there, you'll find the things that motivate you. So that third week, if you're coming off that holiday weekend, you're having a hard time getting back into the swing, I'm right there with you. I know other people that were right there with me, so don't get too worried about that. Things will pick up, but that was definitely the reality of what the third week was for me. So if you have any questions about the PhD, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer them. You can head over to my blog, Locating Lauren. I have a lot of information on there as well. If you want to follow me more in the day-by-day process of my PhD, you can head on over to Instagram. I have updates on there all the time. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you in the next one.